The dead world spun slowly in the void, its surface scarred by ancient craters and strange geometric patterns that looked too perfect to be natural. The Vorthak research ship Dominion's Edge hung in orbit above the planet, its massive hull casting shadows on the smaller vessels gathered around it. Jiwan pressed her face against the observation deck window, watching the alien ships position themselves for landing. She had been studying ancient languages for 15 years, but this was her first invitation to work with the Galactic Council. The fact that they needed a human expert made her both proud and nervous. Dr. Jiwan, a deep voice rumbled behind her. She turned to see Commander Vexistar, a 7-foot-tall Vorthak with scales that shifted from green to blue when he was thinking. The landing party is ready. Your expertise will be useful. The way he said useful made it sound like an insult. Jiwan had grown used to this treatment. Most alien species saw humans as newcomers to the galaxy, barely worth noticing. They had only discovered faster-than-light travel 300 years ago, while races like the Vorthak claimed 10,000 years of space travel. "I'm ready, Commander," Jiwan replied, picking up her translation equipment. The devices were human-made, much smaller and more efficient than the bulky alien versions, though she never mentioned this to her alien colleagues. The shuttle ride to the planet's surface was tense. Besides Jiwan, the team included 3 Vorthak archaeologists, 2 crystalline Nixari data specialists, and 1 Thurian military observer. They all ignored her during the descent, speaking in their own languages and occasionally glancing at her, with what she assumed was disdain. The ruins appeared as they descended through the thin atmosphere. Massive structures rose from the barren landscape, made of a dark material that seemed to absorb light. The buildings were arranged in perfect geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly, as if they followed mathematical principles that human and alien minds couldn't quite grasp. "Incredible," whispered Dr. Korthek, the lead Vorthak archaeologist. "These structures are older than any civilization we know, even older than the first builders." Jiwan felt a strange chill run down her spine as she looked at the ruins. Something about them seemed familiar, though she knew she had never seen anything like them before. The landing site was a flat area near the largest structure, a pyramid-like building that stretched almost a mile into the sky. As soon as they stepped off the shuttle, Jiwan noticed the silence. No wind, no sounds of any kind. Even their footsteps seemed muffled. "Energy readings are off the charts," announced Zilnara, one of the Nixari specialists. Her crystal body glowed with soft blue light as she processed data from her scanners. "But the patterns are unlike anything in our databases." The entrance to the main structure was a perfect archway, 20 feet tall and covered in symbols that seemed to shift and change when viewed directly. Dr. Korthek approached with his scanning equipment, but the symbols remained stubbornly unreadable to his machines. "Human," Commander Vextar called out. "Can your primitive translation systems make sense of these markings?" Jiwan bit back her anger at the insult and approached the archway. As soon as she got close, something extraordinary happened. The symbols stopped shifting and became clear, as if they were focusing themselves for her benefit. "I can read some of this," she said, trying to keep the excitement out of her voice. "It's not like any ancient language I know, but the structure is familiar. It says something about guardians? No, caretakers. And something about children returning home." "Impossible," Dr. Korthek snorted. "These ruins predate your species by millions of years. How could a human read what we cannot?" But as Jiwan continued to study the symbols, more meaning became clear. Words about waiting, about hope, about a great sleep that would end when the scattered ones returned. She felt tears forming in her eyes without understanding why. "The symbols are changing for her," Zilnara observed, her crystal body now glowing bright yellow with excitement. "The energy patterns shift when she approaches. This has never happened before." Inside the structure, the walls were covered with more symbols and strange diagrams that looked like star maps. The alien team spread out with their equipment, but everything they tried failed to activate any of the ancient technology. Only when Jiwan touched certain panels did lights begin to flicker on. "Stay back from the controls," Commander Vextar ordered. "We don't know what might happen if you activate something dangerous." but Jiwan was already translating another section of symbols. "It's a map," she said softly, "showing the locations of other sites like this one. Dozens of them, scattered across the galaxy." She paused, studying one particular section, "and they all point to a central location." "Where?" Dr. Korthek demanded. Jiwan's blood ran cold as she recognized the star patterns. "Earth's solar system." The alien team fell, silent. For centuries they had assumed Earth was just another young world that had recently developed space travel, but these ruins suggested something completely different. "That's impossible," Zilnara said, her glow flickering with uncertainty. "Earth is in the galactic backwater. Nothing of importance has ever come from that region." As they explored deeper into the ruins, Jiwan found herself able to read more and more of the symbols. Stories of a great civilization that had spanned the galaxy. References to children and students, to guidance and protection. And everywhere, symbols that reminded her of ancient human writing systems, as if they were somehow related. In the deepest chamber, they found a circular room with a raised platform in the center. The walls were covered with moving images that showed star systems, alien worlds, and creatures that looked almost familiar. When Jiwan stepped onto the platform, the images focused on her, as if recognizing her presence. "We need to leave," Commander Vextar said suddenly. "This place is too dangerous." But Dr. Korthek was studying his readings with growing alarm. "The biological scanners are detecting organic traces, DNA fragments preserved in the structure itself." "From what species?" Zilnara asked. The Vorthak archaeologist's scales shifted to deep purple, a sign of extreme distress. "Human. The DNA signatures are human. The implications hit everyone at once. If human DNA was found in ruins millions of years old, it meant everything they thought they knew about galactic history was wrong. Humans weren't newcomers to the galaxy. They were connected to these ancient builders in ways that should have been impossible." Commander Vextar immediately sealed the site and ordered everyone back to the ship. As they lifted off, Jiwan managed to secretly copy some of the symbol translations to her personal device. She had a feeling the alien authorities would never allow her to study this discovery properly. But as they left the planet behind, she couldn't shake the feeling that the ruins had been waiting for her specifically. The symbols had revealed themselves, to her alone, as if recognizing something in her that even she didn't understand. Back on the research ship, she overheard Commander Vextar speaking in urgent whispers to the other alien team leaders. She caught fragments of their conversation. Ancient threat, suppress the findings, and most disturbing of all, the humans must never know. Jiwan pretended to sleep that night, but her mind raced with questions. Who had built those ruins? Why could she read the symbols when advanced alien computers could not? And what were the aliens so afraid of that they would hide this discovery from humanity? Outside her small cabin window, the stars seemed different somehow, as if they were trying to tell her secrets she wasn't ready to understand. 3 weeks after returning from the dead world, Jiwan sat in her small laboratory aboard Research Station Harmony, staring at the data she had secretly copied. The symbols danced across her screen, their meaning becoming clearer each time she studied them. What had seemed like random ancient writing was revealing itself to be something far more significant. "You look terrible," said Do-Yun as he entered the lab with 2 cups of coffee. He was the only other human linguist on the station, and one of the few people Jiwan trusted completely. "Have you been sleeping at all?" "Look at this," Jiwan said, pointing to her screen. "I've been analyzing the symbol structure from the ruins. Do-Hyun, this isn't just an ancient language. It's the root language, the source code for dozens of human languages." Do-Hyun set down the coffee and leaned over her shoulder. His eyes widened as he saw the patterns she had highlighted. "These grammatical structures, they're in Korean, and Sanskrit, and ancient Hebrew. But that's impossible." "That's what I thought too," Jiwan replied, pulling up another screen. "But look at this progression. If you follow the linguistic evolution backwards, all these human languages converge on this symbol system. It's like someone planted the seeds of human language millions of years ago. On the other side of the galaxy, Dr. Hyejin stared at her computer screen in her laboratory on Earth. She had been studying human genetic samples for the past month, looking for signs of alien contamination that the government claimed had occurred during first contact centuries ago. What she found instead made her question everything she thought she knew about human biology. "This isn't contamination," she whispered to herself. "These are activation sequences." The genetic changes that officials had blamed on alien contact were actually dormant DNA segments turning back on. Segments that contained information far beyond what human science should have possessed. Her hands trembled as she realized the implications. She picked up her secure communicator and called her research partner. "Taehyun, you need to get down here right away. I've found something that's going to change everything." Meanwhile, on the Itor, Forthak homeworld, Minho tried to maintain his diplomatic composure while attending yet another boring trade negotiation. As Earth's representative to the Vorthak Empire, he spent most of his time dealing with tedious paperwork and ceremonial meetings. But lately, he had noticed changes in the aliens' behavior. The Vorthak officials were more nervous than usual, often stopping conversations when he entered a room. Military ships were moving through the system more frequently, and there were encrypted communications that his translation software couldn't decode. Something was making the aliens very worried. "Ambassador Minho," Commander Thekros said as the meeting ended, "perhaps you would join me for refreshments. There are matters we should discuss." Minho followed the large Vorthak to a private chamber, noting how the alien scales kept shifting colors nervously. "Is everything all right, Commander? You seem troubled." "There have been discoveries," Thekros said carefully. "Archaeological findings that concern the safety of all younger species. The High Command is taking steps to protect everyone from potential threats." "What kind of threats?" Minho asked, though he suspected he wouldn't get a straight answer. "Ancient ones. From before the current galactic order. We must be prepared to act quickly if these threats become active." Back on Research Station Harmony, Jiwon made another breakthrough. She had been working with Do-hyun to analyze the star maps from the ruins, and they discovered something that made her stomach drop. "The central location isn't just near Earth's solar system," she told Do-hyun. "It's pointing directly to Earth itself. Every single one of these ancient sites has pathway markers leading back to our home planet. But Earth couldn't have been the center of an ancient galactic civilization," Do-hyun protested. "We have fossil records going back millions of years. Humans evolved on Earth from earlier primates." "What if we didn't?" Jiwon asked quietly. "What if humans were already spread across the galaxy, and Earth was just one of many colonies? What if something happened that made us forget our own history?" The implications were staggering. If humans had once been a spacefaring civilization, it would explain why they adapted so quickly to galactic society when they rediscovered space travel. It would explain why human technology often surpassed alien designs despite being newer to the galaxy. On Earth, Hyejin was making similar discoveries. The genetic activation she was observing wasn't random. It followed specific patterns, as if responding to some kind of signal or trigger. More disturbing, the changes were accelerating. "The dormant sequences are activating faster each day," she told Taehyun as he reviewed her data. "And it's not just in the samples I'm studying. I've checked with other research facilities around the world. It's happening to humans everywhere." "What kind of changes are we talking about?" Taehyun asked. "Enhanced neural processing, improved physical coordination, and most interesting of all, increased resistance to radiation in low oxygen environments. As if our bodies are remembering how to survive in space." Hyejin pulled up another screen showing brain scan data, and there's something else. "The subjects are reporting strange dreams, vivid images of alien worlds, advanced technology, and star maps. Always star maps." Meanwhile, Minho had begun his own investigation into the Vorthak military buildup. Using his diplomatic access, he managed to obtain copies of some encrypted communications. What he found made his blood run cold. The messages spoke of ancient protocols, containment procedures, and elimination of the threat before awakening completes. Most disturbing were references to the human problem, and final solutions, it became clear that the aliens weren't just worried about some abstract ancient threat. They were specifically afraid of humans, and they were planning to do something about it. Minho immediately began preparing encrypted messages to Earth, warning of the alien military preparations. But he knew his communications were monitored. He would have to find another way to get word home. Back at the research station, Jiwon made contact with Hyejin through secure channels. When they compared their findings, the picture became even more disturbing. "Your genetic data supports what I found in the ruins," Jiwon explained during their encrypted video call. "The symbols talk about sleeping children who would one day wake up and remember their heritage. What if that's what's happening to humans right now?" "But why now?" Hyejin asked. "What triggered this awakening?" "I think it was the discovery of the ruins themselves," Jiwon replied. "Some kind of signal was sent out when I activated those ancient systems. A call to wake up." Do-hyun, who had been listening to the conversation, suddenly looked pale. "If the aliens know about this, if they understand what's happening to humans, they'll try to stop it," Jiwon finished. "They'll try to stop us." The three scientists realized they were sitting on information that could start a war or prevent one, depending on how it was handled. But they also knew the alien authorities would never allow this knowledge to become public. "We need to find more ruins," Jiwon said. "If there are dozens of sites like the one I visited, maybe we can find answers before the aliens shut down all research. And we need to document everything," Hyejin added. "If something happens to us, other humans need to know what we've discovered." As they ended their call, each scientist began preparing for what might be the most important research of their lives. Somewhere in the depths of space, ancient systems were stirring to life. On Earth, human DNA was remembering secrets that had been hidden for millions of years. And in the halls of alien governments across the galaxy, emergency meetings were being called to discuss the growing human problem. The awakening had begun, and there would be no stopping it now. The only question was whether humanity would survive long enough to learn the truth about their forgotten past. Outside Research Station Harmony, the stars seemed brighter than usual, as if ancient lights were beginning to shine again after eons of darkness. Jiwon's hands shook as she approached the newly discovered facility on Kepler 442b. This was the third ancient site found in the past month, and unlike the previous ones, this facility was still partially active. Lights pulsed in slow rhythms. Along the massive walls, and energy readings suggested something was waiting inside. "Stay back from the main entrance," warned Dr. Veltar, the Nexari expedition leader. "We don't know what defensive systems might still be operational." But as Jiwon got closer to the entrance, the symbols began glowing brighter, responding to her presence just as they had at the first sight. The other team members watched nervously as ancient technology awakened around the human archaeologist. "It's recognizing me again," Jiwon said, stepping closer to the massive doorway. "The symbols are becoming clearer. This time she could read entire sentences instead of just fragments. Stories of a great empire that had guided younger species across the galaxy. References to teachers and students, parents and children, and everywhere. Warnings about a great sacrifice that would one day be reversed." As she touched the control panel beside the entrance, the massive doors opened with a deep humming sound that seemed to resonate in her bones. Inside, the facility was unlike anything they had seen before. Instead of empty chambers, this place was filled with flowing energy patterns and holographic displays that showed star maps spanning the entire galaxy. "Incredible," whispered Jiwon. "It's still operational after all this time." She walked deeper into the facility, following corridors that seemed to guide her toward a central chamber. The alien team followed at a distance, their instruments detecting energy patterns that their science couldn't explain. In the heart of the facility, Jiwon found a circular room dominated by a pillar of pure light. As she approached, the light began to take shape, forming into the image of a tall figure with distinctly human features. "Welcome home, child of the scattered seeds," the figure said in perfect ancient Korean. "I am Hanul, caretaker of the Third Archive. I have been waiting for your people to remember who you are." The alien team members backed away in terror as the holographic figure turned to acknowledge them. And welcome, children of the uplifted. You have grown much since we last walked among you. Who are you? Jiwan asked, though part of her already knew the answer. I am what your people would call an artificial intelligence, created by the progenitors to maintain their facilities and await the awakening. The ones you call the first builders were not the first at all. They were students, as were all the current galactic powers. The hologram gestured, and the walls around them filled with images of human-like beings working alongside the ancestors of current alien species. But the humans in these images were clearly the leaders, the teachers, the ones with advanced technology. Your ancestors ruled this galaxy not through conquest but through wisdom and guidance. They uplifted dozens of species, sharing knowledge and helping them reach for the stars. But they also knew that true growth comes from independence. What happened to them? Jiwan asked. They chose to sacrifice their empire so their children could grow. The Great Scattering was voluntary. Your ancestors spread across the galaxy, seeding hidden colonies and then suppressing their own memories, so that the uplifted species could develop without dependence on their creators. Dr. Veltar's crystal body was glowing with agitation. This is impossible. The Nexari have records going back 50,000 years. There is no mention of human rule. Because your ancestors chose to forget, Hunul replied gently. The progenitors installed memory barriers in all uplifted species, helping them develop their own cultures and governments. But the barriers were designed to fade when the scattered children were ready to return. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Seokjin woke from another vivid dream about advanced physics and alien worlds. These dreams had been getting stronger every night, filled with mathematical concepts that his conscious mind couldn't understand, but that somehow made perfect sense while he slept. He stumbled to his computer and began writing down the formulas he remembered from the dream. To his amazement, they described a new form of faster-than-light travel that was far more efficient than current human or alien methods. This is impossible, he muttered, staring at equations that should have taken decades to develop. I couldn't have thought of this myself. But the knowledge felt familiar, as if he was remembering rather than learning. Other human scientists across the galaxy were reporting similar experiences. Sudden insights into advanced technology, memories of operating equipment they had never seen before, and an increasing ability to understand alien science that had previously been beyond human comprehension. Back at the ancient facility, Hanul was explaining the truth about galactic history to Ji-Wan and the terrified alien team. The current galactic powers have built their civilizations on technology they found in progenitor ruins. What they call their greatest achievements are actually pale copies of systems their ancestors once used under human guidance. Why are you telling us this now? Ji-Wan asked. Because the awakening has begun. When you activated the first facility, a signal was sent to every hidden archive across the galaxy. The dormant genetic programs in human populations have started activating, and the memory barriers in the uplifted species are beginning to weaken. Dr. Veltar's voice was filled with panic. The Nexari High Council must be informed immediately. This threatens the entire galactic order. Your leaders already know, Hanul said sadly. They have known fragments of the truth for millennia. Why do you think they fear human advancement so much? Deep in their genetic memory, they remember being guided by beings who looked just like modern humans. The revelation hit the alien team members like a physical blow. Everything they thought they knew about their own history was wrong. They weren't the ancient, wise species they claimed to be. They were students whose teachers had chosen to disappear so they could learn to stand on their own. What happens now? Ji-Wan asked. That depends on your species, Hanul replied. The progenitors designed this awakening to give humanity a choice. You can reclaim your ancient heritage and rebuild the galactic empire, or you can choose a different path. But first, you must survive what is coming. What do you mean? The current galactic powers are terrified of human awakening. They are preparing to eliminate your species before the process completes. Military fleets are already moving toward human colonies. As if summoned by Hanul's words, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Dr. Veltar was speaking rapidly into a communication device. calling for immediate evacuation and military support. "We must leave," the Nexari scientist said. "This facility is too dangerous to remain operational." But Jiwan wasn't ready to go. "Hanul, how do we defend ourselves? How do we survive what's coming?" "The archives contain everything you need," the AI replied. "Technology, weapons, star maps showing the locations of hidden fleets, but accessing them requires human authorization from multiple sites. You must reach the other facilities before they are destroyed." "How many sites are there?" 47. "Active archives remain, but they are spread across the galaxy, and the alien powers are already moving to secure or destroy them." Dr. Veltar was backing toward the exit, his crystal body flickering with fear. "This conversation is over. The facility will be sealed by order of the Galactic Council." "I'm afraid I cannot allow that," Hanul said. As the AI spoke, energy barriers appeared across all the entrances, trapping everyone inside. "Dr. Jiwan, you must download the archive data now. Your people will need this information to survive." Jiwan approached a console that had materialized near the light pillar. As she placed her hands on it, information flooded into her mind. Star maps, technology specifications, historical records, and most importantly, the locations of hidden progenitor weapon caches and shipyards. "The process is complete," Hanul announced. "The archive data has been transferred to your ship's computer, but be warned, other humans are experiencing similar awakenings across the galaxy. Your species is beginning to remember who you are." The energy barriers disappeared, and Dr. Veltar immediately rushed toward the exit. "This facility will be destroyed within the hour," he called back. "The Council has already authorized orbital bombardment." As they evacuated the facility, Jiwan looked back to see Hanul's image fading. "Will I see you again?" "I exist in all the archives," the AI replied. "And soon, if your people choose to accept their heritage, I will be more than just a memory." The progenitors built systems that can be reactivated, fleets that can be awakened, weapons that respond only to human command. The choice of what to do with this legacy is yours. As their ship lifted off from the planet, massive alien warships appeared in orbit. Within minutes, the ancient facility was nothing but a crater, but the information it contained was already spreading through human networks across the galaxy. The awakening was accelerating, and there was no stopping it now. Soon every human in the galaxy would know the truth about their forgotten empire. The only question was whether they would survive long enough to decide what to do with that knowledge. In the depths of space, other ancient systems were stirring to life, waiting for the return of their creator's children. The galaxy was about to remember who had really built its greatest wonders. The Vorthak Imperial Palace on Thekmar had never seen such a gathering. Representatives from 12 major galactic powers sat around the obsidian conference table, their various forms of communication creating a symphony of clicks, hums, and electronic tones. But today they all spoke the same language. Fear. Emperor Zekthor, his massive frame barely contained by the ceremonial throne, addressed the assembly with scales shifting deep purple. "The human awakening accelerates beyond our projections. Their scientists are developing technologies that surpass our own. Their military capabilities expand daily. We can no longer pretend this is a minor concern." Ambassador Kelnara of the Therian Confederacy clicked her mandibles nervously. "Our intelligence reports show human vessels performing maneuvers that should be impossible with their known propulsion systems. Some of our ships have detected energy signatures that match progenitor technology." "Because it is progenitor technology," hissed Lord Velkash of the Nexari Collective. "Our archaeological teams have confirmed it. The humans are accessing the ancient archives. They're remembering how to use systems we've spent millennia trying to understand." Meanwhile, Minho sat in his quarters aboard the diplomatic transport, returning to Earth, reading the stolen communications he had managed to acquire. The Alien Alliance's plans were worse than he had feared. They weren't just preparing for war, they were planning genocide. Operation Final Dawn called for simultaneous attacks on all human colonies, beginning with Earth itself. The aliens had convinced themselves that humanity posed an existential threat to galactic civilization. In their fear, they had forgotten that their own ancestors had once looked to humans for guidance and protection. Minho encrypted his findings and transmitted them through a secure channel to Earth. The message would take weeks to arrive through normal space, but he included the alien fleet movements and attack timelines Earth needed to prepare for what was coming. On Earth, Nari received the transmission in her office deep beneath the human colonial defense headquarters. As the head of Earth's military forces, she had been tracking unusual alien fleet movements for months. Minho's intelligence confirmed her worst fears. But Nari had been having the dreams too. Every night, visions of massive space battles, strategies for fighting enemies with superior numbers, and knowledge of weapon systems that didn't officially exist. At first, she had dismissed them as stress-induced nightmares. Now she understood. They were memories awakening from humanity's forgotten past. "Dr. Hyejin," she said into her secure communicator, "I need you to accelerate the awakening process. We're going to need every advantage we can get." At her laboratory, Hyejin stared at the genetic modification equipment she had been developing. The process could awaken dormant human capabilities in days instead of months, but the risks were unknown. They would be experimenting on volunteers with their own species' genetic heritage. "Are you certain about this?" asked her assistant, Jamin. "We don't know what side effects might occur." "We don't have a choice," Hyejin replied. "If Nari's intelligence is correct, the alien fleets will reach Earth in 6 weeks. We need awakened humans who can operate progenitor technology, or we'll all be dead." Across the galaxy, Jiwan was having problems of her own. After downloading the archive data from Hanul, she found herself able to access information systems that should have been impossible for a human to understand. Alien databases opened for her touch, revealing centuries of hidden history. Most disturbing was what she learned about the memory barriers Hanul had mentioned. The aliens hadn't just forgotten their connection to humanity, they had been programmed to fear and resist human advancement. Every time humans developed new technology or expanded their influence, deep genetic triggers made the alien species feel threatened. "It's like a cosmic parent-child relationship gone wrong," she explained to Do-hyun as they studied the data. The progenitors designed their uplifted children to eventually outgrow the need for guidance. But when they disappeared, the children interpreted it as abandonment. Now they see any sign of human superiority as a threat to their independence. So this war isn't really about territory or resources, Do-hyun realized. It's about children trying to kill their returning parents because they're afraid of becoming dependent again. The tragic irony wasn't lost on either of them. The aliens were so afraid of losing their autonomy that they were willing to commit genocide to preserve it. Meanwhile, Captain Woojin discovered that his cargo transport New Hope had capabilities far beyond its specifications. During a routine supply run to the outer colonies, the ship's computer suddenly announced the activation of auxiliary combat systems. "What auxiliary systems?" Woojin demanded of his AI. "This is a civilian transport." "Negative, Captain," the AI replied in a voice that had become more sophisticated overnight. "This vessel is equipped with modified progenitor defense systems. Hull armor is adaptive nanomaterial. Engines include emergency combat acceleration. Weapon systems are concealed but functional." Woojin stared at his control panels as new displays materialized, showing weapon controls and shield generators that definitely hadn't been there yesterday. "How is this possible?" Human vessels were designed with latent capabilities that activate during awakening protocols. Your genetic authorization has enabled full ship functions. Similar discoveries were happening throughout the human fleet. Merchant ships revealed hidden weapons, exploration vessels activated military-grade sensors, and even small personal craft displayed capabilities that matched alien warships. Back on Earth, Seokjin made a breakthrough that changed everything. The physics equations from his dreams had led him to develop a new form of faster-than-light communication. Unlike the alien quantum entanglement systems that took hours to transmit across galactic distances, this technology was instantaneous. "I don't understand how this works," he admitted to his research team. "The mathematics are beyond anything I consciously learned, but the system functions perfectly." The new communication technology allowed real-time coordination between human colonies across the galaxy for the first time. Within days of its deployment, human settlements were sharing information, resources, and awakening data at unprecedented speeds. Nari used the communication network to coordinate Earth's defense preparations. What she learned from the colonies was both encouraging and terrifying. Human populations everywhere were awakening rapidly, developing abilities that seemed impossible. But the alien fleets were also massing faster than expected. "We have 4 weeks, maybe less," she announced during a global military briefing. "The good news is that we're not as defenseless as they think we are. The bad news is that we're facing the combined military might of 12 alien civilizations." Hyejin's awakening treatments had produced remarkable results. Volunteer subjects showed enhanced reflexes, improved spatial reasoning, and an intuitive understanding of advanced technology. Most importantly, they could interface with progenitor systems without training. "It's like the knowledge was always there," explained Jisung, one of the test subjects. "I look at these alien control panels and somehow I know exactly what each symbol means. I can pilot ships I've never seen before." But the awakening came with unexpected side effects. The enhanced humans reported feeling a deep emotional connection to other species, even the ones currently preparing to attack Earth. They described it as overwhelming empathy, as if they could feel the fear and confusion driving the alien alliance. "The progenitors designed us to be caretakers," Jisung told Hyejin during one of his evaluations. "I can feel it in my genes. We're supposed to protect and guide other species, not fight them. The idea of this war makes me physically sick." This presented Nari with a terrible dilemma. The awakened humans had the skills needed to operate Earth's hidden defenses, but their enhanced empathy made them reluctant to use violence against their attackers. They wanted to protect Earth, but they also wanted to save the aliens from their own fear-driven madness. Meanwhile, Ji-1 made another discovery in the progenitor archives that changed everything. Hidden among the technical specifications and historical records, she found the location of the Central Command Facility, the heart of the ancient human empire. "It's not on Earth," she told the Emergency Council via quantum communication. "The Central Archive is on a hidden world in the galactic core. If we can reach it, we might be able to activate systems that could end this conflict without bloodshed." "How?" Nari asked. "The progenitors built safeguards into their uplifted species, emergency protocols that could override the genetic programming if the children ever turned against their creators. We could literally reprogram the aliens to remember their true relationship with humanity. It was a desperate plan, but it offered hope for a solution that didn't involve the destruction of either side. The only problem was that the Central Archive was thousands of light years away, deep in territory controlled by the alien alliance. As the alien fleets continued their approach to human space, both sides prepared for a war that neither truly wanted. The humans were awakening to their role as galactic caretakers, while the aliens were driven by ancient fears they didn't fully understand. The children of the stars were coming home, but their arrival might destroy everything their ancestors had worked to create. Unless they could find a way to the first attack came without warning. Vorthak battleships dropped out of hyperspace, at the edge of the Kepler system, their weapons charging as they approached the human mining colony of New Sol. 300,000 civilians worked on the surface, completely unaware that they had been marked for extinction. Admiral Kira, commanding the colony's defense from the orbital station, watched the alien fleet approach with grim determination. Her small force of 12 patrol ships shouldn't have stood a chance against 30 enemy battleships. But as the first laser batteries opened fire, something extraordinary happened. The human ships moved like dancers, their courses weaving through the alien weapons fire with impossible precision. Pilots who had never seen combat before flew like veterans of 1,000 battles, their awakened instincts guiding them through maneuvers that defied physics. "How are they doing that?" demanded Commander Vextar from the bridge of the Vorthak flagship. "Our tactical computers show their flight paths are impossible." What the aliens didn't understand was that the human ships were no longer operating under normal limitations. Progenitor technology had awakened throughout the fleet, transforming simple patrol craft into weapons that could match anything in the alien arsenal. Captain Soyon's ship Dancing Star rolled through a spread of plasma, bolts that should have vaporized her vessel. Instead, adaptive armor absorbed the energy while hidden weapons systems returned fire with devastating accuracy. Within minutes, 3 Vorthak battleships were drifting hulks. "This is impossible," Vextar growled. "Fall back and call for reinforcements." But, as the alien fleet retreated, Soyon felt no satisfaction in the victory. The awakening had filled her with knowledge of the aliens' true nature, and she could sense their fear and confusion through channels she didn't fully understand. "Admiral," she reported to Kira, "the Vorthak crews are terrified. They're fighting us because their genetic programming tells them we're a threat, but part of them remembers when we protected them." Similar battles erupted across human space, as the Alien Alliance launched coordinated attacks on 12 colonies. In every case, the results were the same. Human forces that should have been easily overwhelmed fought with skills and technology that amazed even themselves. On Earth, Nari coordinated the defense from the underground command center, watching status reports flood in from across the galaxy. The news was better than she had dared hope, but it came with a terrible cost. "We're winning," reported Colonel Daejung, "but our people are struggling with the aftermath. Every battle ends with human crews experiencing emotional breakdowns. They can feel the pain and fear of the aliens they're fighting." This was the cruel irony of the awakening. As humans regained their ancient abilities, they also recovered their role as caretakers of other species. Every alien ship they destroyed felt like killing their own children. Dr. Hyejin had accelerated the awakening process for thousands of volunteers, but the psychological effects were becoming harder to ignore. "The enhanced humans are reporting empathic connections to all sentient life," she told Nari during an emergency briefing. "They can literally feel the suffering of their enemies." "Can we suppress that aspect of the awakening?" Nari asked. "Not without losing the tactical advantages we need to survive," Hyejin replied. "The empathy and the combat skills come from the same genetic source. We can't have one without the other." Meanwhile, Jiwon was leading a desperate mission to reach more progenitor archives before the aliens could destroy them. Her small team had managed to access 3 more facilities, each one revealing additional secrets about humanity's forgotten empire. "The pattern is becoming clear," she reported to Earth during one of their clandestine transmissions. "The progenitors didn't just uplift other species, they loved them. Every archive contains records of human scientists working for centuries to help their children develop and grow. But the aliens were systematically destroying the archive sites, preferring to eliminate the evidence rather than face the truth about their origins. Each destroyed facility was a piece of galactic history lost forever." On the research station where Jiwon and Doyun continued their work, they made a discovery that offered hope for ending the conflict. Deep in the most recent archive, they found references to something called the Great Teaching. "It's not just historical records," Do-hyun explained as they studied the data. "It's an active program. If we can reach the central archive that Jiwon found, we might be able to broadcast a signal that restores the suppressed memories in all uplifted species. They would remember their true relationship with humanity," Jiwon realized. "Instead of seeing us as threats, they would remember that we were their teachers and protectors." But the central archive was located in the Nexus system, deep in alien-controlled space. Reaching it would require running a gauntlet of the combined alien fleets, and time was running out. Back on Earth, physicist Seokjin had been working around the clock to develop new applications for the awakened technologies flowing from human research facilities. His latest breakthrough was a form of faster-than-light travel that could transport ships across the galaxy in hours instead of weeks. "The principle is based on progenitor space-folding technology," he explained to Nari, "but it requires a human pilot with full awakening to operate. The navigation system interfaces directly with enhanced neural patterns." This gave Nari an idea for a mission that could end the war. "If we can get a small team to the central archive, they might be able to activate the Great Teaching, but it would be a one-way trip. The alien fleets would never let them return." Volunteers stepped forward immediately. Captain Wu Jin offered his modified transport ship, while Jiwan insisted on leading the mission since she was the only one who could reliably access progenitor systems. Dr. Hyejin volunteered to accompany them, bringing her expertise in genetic programming. As they prepared for departure, the war raged across human space. The alien alliance had committed over 1,000 ships to the offensive, but human forces continued to perform far beyond expectations. Every battle revealed new capabilities as dormant progenitor systems awakened throughout the human fleet. Admiral Yuna, commanding Earth's orbital defenses, watched in amazement as civilian cargo ships transformed into battleships before her eyes. "The awakening is accelerating," she reported. "Ships that were hauling grain yesterday are now equipped with energy weapons that outclass anything in our official military arsenal. But the aliens were adapting too. Each defeat taught them new respect for human capabilities, and they began deploying increasingly desperate tactics. Reports came in of biological weapons being prepared, targeting human genetic markers specifically. They're trying to develop a virus that will kill only humans," Dr. Hyejin reported during one of their mission briefings. "The irony is that they're using progenitor biotechnology to do it, technology their ancestors learned from us." The race was now between the human mission to reach the Central Archive and the alien development of genocidal weapons. Both sides were running out of time, but for different reasons. As Wu Jin's ship New Hope prepared to depart for the Nexus system, Nari received disturbing intelligence from Minho, who was still trapped in alien space. The Alliance leaders had made a final decision. If they couldn't defeat humanity militarily, they would destroy entire star systems to prevent human expansion. "They're preparing planet-killer weapons," Minho's message warned. "Devices that can trigger stellar collapse. They plan to destroy Earth's sun rather than risk losing the war." This revelation changed everything. The mission to the Central Archive was no longer just about ending the conflict peacefully. It was about saving humanity from extinction. As New Hope jumped into hyperspace, carrying the hopes of an entire species, the war entered its most desperate phase. Both sides now fought, not just for victory but for survival. The children of the galaxy had forgotten their parents, and in their fear, they were prepared to destroy everything their ancestors had built together. The only hope lay in the ancient archives of the galactic core, where the truth about humanity's legacy waited to be rediscovered. But first, a small team of awakened humans would have to survive a journey through the heart of enemy territory, carrying with them the memories of a forgotten golden age.